Hi, Jillian. My name is Kelsey, and I am responding to your discussion board on the fish. I chose your discussion board because I found your post to be intriguing and insightful. The first thing that I had noticed on your discussion board post was that you didn't have any references. So that threw me off, noting that there were no references in there for you to cite back to on your qualitative research and what that means, and that it was more based off of your assumptions or opinions of qualitative research, which I found very intriguing. Maybe you have more of a background on qualitative research than I do, but I still think having some resources in there would have been, insightful or more helpful for me to kind of see where your correlations came from. Um, on a different note, I really enjoyed the way that you formatted your discussion board post. I enjoyed that you started from the beginning of the fish story and picked out points from the beginning, the middle, and the end and chose in that aspect versus just kind of some random way. So the formatting I really appreciated, and I felt like it was an easier read and able to follow along much better. So one of the things that you had pointed out was the beginning of the fish. The professor had asked the student, what is it that you're wanting to study or learn? And with the student responding, that he wanted to study insects, however, wasn't given the task of studying the insect. But you had made the connection, that qualitative research has this general sense of you really have to know what you want to study and kind of what it is, at least in some sense, that you're hoping to gain from this, like the what and how. That way you can do the research. So that was a really good connection, one that I actually didn't pick up on the story. And so I appreciated that you did. With that, you picked up on that versus my comparison was just the fact that, it was for the student being asked that and the professor responding, asking that question was for me identifying the type of research that was going to be done. You have to really go through that like we had discussed in the collaborative, what type of research are you doing? In this. And so I picked up more on that sense of it, and that being the inquiry of why the professor was asking versus, what you had said. The second thing, or I guess another point that I had enjoyed about reading your post was the writer, the student acknowledging that he was unable to see everything and that he had to continue the observation, and that, it had stood out to you that you have to keep looking at different things and reviewing it, that there's always more to see. So I was similar in that aspect for me, but more of the, you have to continue to search and continue to look, and that you can't just think, in the story he said, I had found that within the first 5 minutes, I thought I would see everything I could see of this fish. But that wasn't true. Throughout the days of the observation, he learned there were more and more things about this fish that he had not known. So for me, it really brought up this sense of the cultural and like biases and stuff, that he was off put by the fish, and he was like, this isn't what I wanted. Why am I doing this? And so for me, it really, brought up the perspective of, wow, sometimes in research, maybe we go in with our own biases and we don't have maybe appropriate responses to some things, or we think like, oh, I met with that person once, there's nothing more I can learn from them through the observation or through the interview. But sometimes it's helpful to go over it a second time. So I think that was a kind of comparison that we had picked up on in the same sense, but different in what our perspectives of it. So I appreciated reading, your perspective of that versus mine. So again, there were a couple other things that I had picked up on throughout the fish as well, some different like ethical dilemmas and certain things that I had noticed, whereas yours was more about like general law and assumptions. And so I really appreciated your perspective of what you had noticed from it versus what I had. So thank you for your post and for your insights, and I look forward to continuing, reading what you have to say and working with you throughout this semester.